Hey guys, welcome to Stewart Lodge in Stewart Road, High Wycombe. And I just wanted to go through a bit of the timeline and overview of how the project has panned out. So going back almost 3 years ago is when we started looking at this deal in sort of summer of 2021. And this is when we started putting offers in. But from memory, if you remember, that was a time when the market was going up quite well and there was a lot of bidding actually. So we were shortlisted from one of 3 bidders. And the way we secured this project is by offering the then incumbent Women's Institute free rent-free period for about 18 months. So the story goes, they wanted to move and downsize to a different office. They'd been here, Women's Institute had been here for over 100 years. And they were moving to smaller offices, but they hadn't quite found the office to move into and downsize into. So when we put the bid in, we were in the top 3 offers, but what swayed the deal for us was the fact that we allowed them to stay for over, I think we had capped it to 12 months of, actually it was 18 months actually from memory, 18 months of cap time to when they can find their next deal. And we thought it would be a great opportunity for us to use that time to actually apply for planning permission. So this is all the story from the beginning of the time when we started this project up until now, which is May to 2024. So yeah, so great storyline there. So basically, how we kicked off the planning was basically we applied for permitted development rights for 4 units. At the time, the rules were different. It was Class O, which was commercial to residential under permitted development. And the thing was you had to use the existing footprint within which you could get the permitted development rights. So you weren't allowed to extend or change the fabric of the building. So we got 4 one-bedroom apartments as part of the permitted development. But that wasn't enough to stack the deal. That was just a plan B. It was a go-to plan when everything else fails and we could, make it quits on our money. So it wasn't going to make us any profit at that point if we weren't going to get planning permission, but it was a fallback plan as it were. So yeah, so that is really where we were. And in terms of the so we got the permitted development rights. 31st of July, I believe, was a deadline for when the Class O commercial to residential applications had to be submitted, which we got through literally through the skin of our teeth. It was literally, I think, a day or so before that. And that was in the bag at that point, 56 days deemed consent. So that was that. And then we started putting in, looking at the actual scheme, the fabric of the building and seeing how we can extend. And so how we did it was, if you look at the main fabric of the building was from this bit here. So if we go further in, this was the main fabric of the building. And here, this bit here was a single cavity wall, single story extension. It was slightly in this way. So we had gone out a little bit more. So, and then over there, when you see this roof going that way, the slanted roof was a garage. So again, that was not allowed to be included in the initial permitted development application. It was only the officey bits that you could include. So when we then sat down with the architect and looked at the plan, we then managed to get 5 apartments. Although the 4 apartments were just 4 one-beds, and the 1-beds in High Wycombe are one of that much value as the 2-beds are. And there was a huge, bigger demand for 2-beds. So we finally made a plan which allowed us to get 3 2-bedroom apartments between 60 and 75 square meters. So quite a large range of sizes there. And the 2 1-beds at between 40 and 45 square meters. Another great feature of this building was obviously the very, very high ceilings, over 3.5 meters in height. So that was, we knew it was going to add to the feeling of space and add to the grandeur of this building. So this is actually a locally listed building. So a key interesting fact is, although if you have a listed building which is either grade 1 or grade 2, that then basically takes away any of the permitted development rights you may have to change from commercial to residential. However, because it was locally listed, we still could use the permitted development rights, but no changes were allowed to the exteriors of the building. So for example, here you can see, this is obviously over 100 years old building. You can see these interesting aspects where you've got the Stuart Lodge inset in here. The gates were listed. All of this brickwork is listed, and we couldn't do any changes to it. The columns on either side of the building, the windows, although they were not listed, they had to be preserved, and we had to go with the sash look. So exactly the same like-for-like windows. The brickwork on top of the windows on the ground floor, you can see across the whole building, had to be changed. And we managed to get the exact same looking across the whole site, because that whole bit there is a new build, effectively. Because that's, we had to literally knock down and build from scratch with new foundations and what have you. So so now you can see this beautiful grand building, which a lot of character, and now you can see why so many people were after it. So in the end, we ended up buying it for 615,000. We had to go a little bit over the asking price. I think the asking price was 585,000. So yeah, we were lucky to, as I said to you, because of the fact that we created the win-win situation with the vendor, we managed to secure the deal, and yeah, that was the beginning of the story. Right, guys, so let's talk about the planning of this whole scheme. So from the point where we submitted the permitted development rights and we got that secured around about September, October of 2021, we, in the meantime, I started working with the architects on the planning scheme. And as I mentioned, it was 5 apartments, and the initial planning we put in around October 2021. And we got initial rejection on it. Now, a couple of things on that rejection. So the first thing is this here. In the original planning application, this wall was about a meter and a half further in that way, which meant we could only get 3 parking spaces here. So that was one of the big reasons why they rejected it. And another reason for rejection was on the other side where the garage was. So we had got in and put in a planning application to exactly go level with the existing building, with the same flush with the actual existing building. But that was another reason where they said the new structure that we were going to put in was going to dominate the existing structure, which was the locally listed element of it. So they didn't want that. They wanted the new structure, the old structure, to be subservient in a way, if for want of a better word, to the existing locally listed part of the building. So what we had to do is pull back that bit where the garage extension was, so made one of the bedrooms slightly smaller, or one of the flats slightly smaller, and then obviously it affected the square footage for this apartment right here. So that was the challenge. So so then we took a lot of the comments on board. Obviously the conservation officer had to look at it as well, and she had brought her own comments in. Obviously a lot of her comments was very much on the exteriors, making sure the look and the feel was exactly the same. So that whole process took about 6 months from the time we put the planning application in, and then we got a rejection. I think it's probably 4 to 5 months actually, and so that was it. So then we had to then go back to the drawing board, look at the scheme, look at the feedback we got from them, and then we started working on that again, and that was around about summer of 2022. And then we re-put the application in. At the time, you could get a free go. So we had a free go at the application. We put that in with the comments, took all the feedback on board from the planning officers and the conservation officer, put that back in. And however, it wasn't until March 2023 when we actually got the planning. So that was a good 9 months to redo, although it was just an old application. And I think another key reason for that was also the fact that my time was spread a bit too thin. So maybe I took my eye off the ball for a little bit, and it was also quite hard working with the architect because we had to push them quite a lot, and it was this constant sort of trying to get them to chase up the application, and that whole thing took about 9 months. So all in all, if you think about it, it was almost 18 months from the time when we put the planning application in for the first time to when we finally secured it after one rejection and then successful at the next one. And another thing to bear in mind as well, there was this big issue where the second time around as well, they were about to reject the. In fact, I believe they kind of rejected it. It was like kind of not sure, but we managed to get the recording of that committee meeting at the time. And the way it went was when we actually looked at the recording was everybody actually the committee members, although there was a lot of objections, the committee members had finally agreed to it. And then after they closed the meeting and everything was signed off, there was another councillor who then went in with a rejection. But because that was actually closed, the matter was closed, and the planning permission was given, that wasn't considered. That wasn't meant to have considered. So basically, there was a lot of confusion at the time. There was about 3 or 4 days where we had to go back and forth with the architect and the planning officer, because they were saying it has been approved, it hasn't, and finally we got it all agreed on paper and signed off as a planning accepted for 5 apartments. But yeah, there was a lot to it. One of the key factors we looked at when we were bidding for this was the actual location. So incredibly situated in one of the best roads of High Wycombe, I could say, if I may say so. But as you can see now, today is a Saturday afternoon and it's very quiet. It's beautiful, overlooking the beautiful Rye. So although this particular scheme does not offer balconies, or there is obviously some outdoor space here as well, it doesn't have balconies or terraces. It has the spaces right there. It's a 5-minute walk from the station, 5-minute walk into town centre, about a 7-8 minute walk into Eden, which is the new part of the shopping centre, a less than 10-minute walk into the Wycombe Hospital. There's Wycombe Abbey, which is a private school, which is again a 5 to 7 minute walk. On the other side, you have the supermarkets, which is again about 10 or 12 minute walk into Lidl and some of the other supermarkets around there. The Prada shops out on the left as well is again another 10-minute walk. So all in all, you can see the location is incredible. But obviously adding to that the character and the locally listed element of the building as well, it made this amazing scheme where it had everything going for it, and that was one of the key things. We ended up going slightly over the asking price, which we haven't ever done in the past. And bear in mind, it was a bullish market where everybody was trying to outbid each other at the time. If you remember the post-COVID race for space hype and all of that. But I think all in all, I think this location was absolutely impeccable and perfect, really. Kitchens. Obviously, this is the biggest selling point of any apartment or house, and we were sort of debating what to do. We got quotes in the region of about 9 grand per kitchen. That would have meant 45 grand for all the kitchens, including appliances. So we made a decision to go for custom-made kitchens. So we went with the sort of lovely MDF, 18 mil MDF, which is a standard sort of width of all the carcasses that you have, where you found in Howdens. We then also went for composite worktops and matching splashbacks. We made a decision not to go for quartz or marble because, again, that wasn't in our budget. And since we were looking at exceeding our budgets on all the other various things, we made a decision not to on this particular one. But I think it's kind of turned out really nice. With the color combination and everything. In terms of the spec of the kitchen, obviously you're giving a fully kitted out kitchen to the tenant. And here you have the slimline dishwashers in all the kitchens. You've got the electric hob and the extractor fan and the oven. So we've gone with some really good quality ones. Zanussi in this case for the fridge freezers and the other bits and pieces, the ovens as well. So it's quite a high spec. And in terms of costing, each kitchen has cost us around 4.5 grand, which is almost half of what we were getting in the market. And that includes all the best appliances with the AEG and Zanussi specs and the lovely ceramic sinks. So yeah, all in all, you can see it's a lovely large kitchen. We've gone for this two-tone, keeping in line with the current trends. So we've gone for a really good spec on all the second fix items. So for example, for the electrics, we've gone for the matte chrome finish. So we've got electric radiators all around the apartments because it's a electric system throughout. So no gas heating in the apartments. Here we've gone for stable Eltron water heaters. The heating is purely done by electric radiators throughout the properties. In terms of the lighting, we've gone for the most popular LED lighting, obviously bearing in mind EPC, consumption of electricity going forward, and with the lovely chrome outline. And we've overspec'd the rooms effectively. Typically in a bedroom, you'd have maybe 4 to 6 lights. We've gone for about 6 plus a pendant. And here in this room, we've definitely overspec'd it with, I think it's about 12 LED lights. So yeah, great. In fact, almost branded by the lights here. In terms of the sockets, we've gone for a mixed spec throughout the property. So some of them just have the regular matte chrome finishing, but the others have the USB ports as well. So here on this one, it's quite a unique one where you've got the new C port and the old regular port. I'm not sure what it's called, but the old one. So we did decide to go for fitted wardrobes because I think, again, that's another very good feature whether you're looking to sell or rent your apartments. And these have come out really lovely because obviously of the height of the ceiling height, you've got lovely storage, which everybody enjoys. And then in terms of the flooring, we've gone for the luxury vinyl tile, the LVT click and layout of flooring, which again, we've gone for lovely sort of shade of grayish brown actually. So it's kind of done really well and it brings out the apartment really well. So all the internal doors are actually FD30, which are basically 30-minute fire doors. That's throughout the property. And here in this flat, on the top floor, was quite a unique in terms of the eaves that we've had with, although they bring a lovely feature to the apartment, we were also slightly worried about the head height, but actually it turned out really well and there's a lot of head height in all the rooms, which were in one of the master bedrooms here in this property with this lovely ensuite behind us. Bathroom is another very good selling feature for your property. So we were very aware of that. And for this particular bathroom spec, we've gone with a mixed bag. So for example, for the tiles itself, we've gone for the luxury end of the tiles. We managed to secure it for around £25 per square meter. But I think if you go into the open market, you get them around about between £30 to £40 per square meter. But we've gone for the sort of luxury finish in that we've got for the larger ones, which tend to be sort of in the high-end houses, which is about 120 by 60 millimeters in terms of the tiles. In shower trays, we've gone for the larger shower trays as compared to the sort of standard 900 by 900. So they're normally, I think, about 1.2 meters by about 1 meter or thereabouts. We haven't gone for the wall hung toilets because we just thought where we can try and save costs, we've gone for the savings instead. But if you look at the bathroom in its totality, it gives a really luxury feel to it because obviously we've gone for the high-end tiles. Again, the radiators are all electric radiators and it sort of gels in really well with the rest of the bathroom. Electric showers we've got there. Yeah, really. But again, all in all, as you can see, it's giving you a very good luxury finish to it. So while we were waiting for the planning to be approved, obviously we were staying very positive. We then started to look at getting quotes from contractors. We asked some of our previous contractors to quote on it, but unfortunately they didn't have time. So we had to go in with some new quotes and we were getting offers or quotes in the region of about £500,000, which for us didn't really look like the deal was going to stack at that price. And so obviously we started to panic and then we got some more contractors giving us quotes. And in the end, we settled with a contractor, which was almost about 360 grand. That didn't include the second fix items. So for example, they had just provisional sums in the contract for kitchens, bathrooms, and then those were adding on top. So roughly we ended up at about just under 100 grand less than the original 500,000 we were getting. On the extreme side of the quotes, we also were getting quotes at about 750,000 pounds. So it was just like this massive range of quotes, and we were like quite sort of flabbergasted by the whole sort of variation in those quotes. So that was one of the biggest challenges we had, was actually to work with the right contractor. And we were aware, and obviously on hindsight, sometimes when the contractor is looking to give you a very, very low quote compared to some of the other ones, it could be a red flag. So I think this is something that we will have to obviously bear in mind for our next project going forward, is try and look at maybe contractors in the middle of the range rather than the two ends of the spectrum. As developers, obviously you want to get it done cheaply, but at the same time you want a great finish, and whether you're looking to sell or rent, you want the durability and the great finishing on it. So you really need to make sure you're balancing out the end finish, end result with the cost of the contract. So that was a very, very big challenge for us. Secondly, as soon as we started on site, another big challenge immediately was the brick. Getting the brickwork matching was a massive challenge, and you were looking at £2.50 per brick. So not only was it difficult to get hold of, it was also crazily expensive. In the end, we found a sourcer in Birmingham, and I think we paid about £150, just under £150 for a brick. So that was, in the end, it all worked out fine, but that was at the time seemed like, obviously making sure that our costs are also under control. And then another massive expense straight on the back was the roof. The roof is absolutely massive when you look at some of the photos, and we had to go for Spanish slate. That was matching with the slate of the previous roof. So that was again a huge cost, and trying to get and source the slate at the right cost was again proving to be a huge challenge. But those were the sort of initial costs when you started literally immediately getting on site and starting looking at the challenges from conversion point of view. So only when we actually started ripping out some of the floorboards, we realized the quality of the joists, basically. And although the joists were of a good quality, they weren't quite the specification of the current standard spec. Because if you remember, this is more than 100 years old, and therefore all the joists had to be replaced, which was obviously a massive cost and added to the costings of the structure. And then the installation on top, in terms of not only did we have to have Celotex on all the roofs, but also rock wool and a combination of all the soundproof floorboards and all of that installation that goes into the building to make it soundproof, but also in terms of getting the best EPC that you can. So that was another big challenge and a cost to the contract. The other big issue we had was the utilities. The actual utility provider did not give us exact instructions, and the trench that was dug out initially had to be closed down, and there had to be another bigger trench dug out. Also, where the electric connection that we had assumed, or the SSC told us, is where we're going to connect from the actual main electric connection into the building, was not quite the right one, and therefore there had to be a longer trench dug up for the electrics as well. Again, that all added to the costs and the time. The delays that were caused in the works. Although we had put the order in for the windows right in the beginning of the project, the initial windows manufacturer actually went bust, and the advance that the contractor had paid him obviously couldn't be recovered. So we had to then reorder the windows, and obviously considering the fact that they were not standard sizes, not standard styles, they were all sash windows and they had to be exact like for like, we had to find the right manufacturer for that, and that was almost a delay of nearly 4 months, if not more, which meant that although the rooms were plastered, all the area around the windows had to be left for when you finish them off once the windows are in, and then you have to replaster, and all of these things added further delays to the project. So here go the numbers. We bought the building for £615,000. Obviously, you have the stamp duty and legals to pay on over and above that. The contract value for the actual works was £365,000. That didn't include some of the second fix items. So the appliances we had to pay over and above. Some of the work on the kitchen, we had provisional sums for kitchen at $3,000, which obviously it exceeded that. We also then had to pay for the utilities. That was another $20,000. SIL, which is Community Infrastructure Levy, was about £120 per square foot. So we had to pay that for the extra square footage that the building had created. So that was another bill of $26,000. And then obviously you had the finance costs for funding the deal. So we purchased the building with a loan from two different investors. Investor one was pension money on the first charge, and investor two was also pension money on the second charge. That was about $100,000 cost for the actual fund itself. And in terms of the actual works, we funded the works ourselves. So there was a slightly smaller cost of money, but there was obviously the time and the return on that as well to worry about. So that was the overall costings of the project. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I think I've been very candid about sharing all my challenges, the figures I've been very upfront with, and hope you've enjoyed watching that and learned a lot. But if you've got any other questions about it, do feel to reach out to me in the comments below. And if you want to look at our website, teamtitans.co.uk for our events, and choprapropertygroup.com for our property projects, and reach out to me via email, manny@mannychopra.com. But I'm hoping to see you at one of the Titans events in 2024. Thank you for watching.